My name is Lena Carter, and the first thing I saw when I woke up after 19 days in a coma was an empty chair. Not the dramatic kind of empty you see in movies, just a gray plastic hospital chair pushed against the wall like nobody had touched it in weeks. No flowers, no balloons, no half-finished coffee cup from someone who stayed up too late worrying about me. Just silence, and a folded piece of paper on the tray beside my hospital bed. It had my father's handwriting on it, neat, careful, the same handwriting he used when he used to sign my report cards without reading them. I remember my hands shaking when I opened it. You ever wake up from something terrible and expect, even for a second, that maybe someone showed up? Maybe someone cared? That note killed that hope in about 12 words. It said, "Lena, your brothers and I talked. We can't keep paying for your mistakes. The hospital bills are yours now. Good luck, Dad." That was it. No love you, no call me when you're better, just good luck. I stared at that piece of paper for a long time. Then I laughed. The kind of laugh people make when something hurts too much to cry about right away. And then, eventually, I cried. Not because they left. Some part of me had been preparing for that my whole life. I cried because in that moment I finally understood something I should have realized years earlier. My family didn't just ignore me, they had been erasing me. But my father made one mistake. A big one. He forgot about something my mother left behind, and he definitely forgot about the quiet man in a charcoal gray suit who walked into my hospital room 3 days later. Before I tell you about him, you need to understand the house I grew up in, because from the outside, it looked like the kind of place people wrote Christmas cards about. White brick colonial, perfect lawn, iron gates that opened automatically when you drove up. My father loved those gates, said they made the place feel important. Inside that house was a dining table that sat 10 people comfortably. We used it every Sunday, but there were only ever 4 plates set. My father, my stepmother, my older brother Daniel, and my younger brother Mark. There was never a 5th plate, not after my mother died. If I showed up anyway, Diane would smile that tight little smile of hers and say something like, "Oh, honey, we didn't realize you were coming." Behind her, there'd be more than enough food for everyone, but somehow never enough space. I stopped trying eventually. You can only knock on your own family's door so many times before you realize you're the only one standing outside. The thing about being the extra person in your own family is you start asking yourself questions. You wonder what you did wrong, why you're different, why every mistake you make becomes proof that you never belonged there to begin with. For me, that story started when I was 12. My mom's name was Rebecca Carter. She had this way of laughing with her whole face, the kind of laugh that makes other people laugh even if they didn't hear the joke. She played piano on Saturday mornings. Not professionally, just because it made the house feel alive. When she got sick, the house got quiet. Cancer has a way of doing that. Doctors gave her 6 months. She fought for almost a year. The night she died, I remember sitting on the stairs, listening to my father talking on the phone downstairs. His voice sounded irritated, not sad. I didn't understand it then. I do now. After the funeral, the changes started slowly. Pictures of my mom disappeared from the walls. Then the piano disappeared. Then my bedroom moved from the 2nd floor to the attic. Diane said it would give me more privacy. What she meant was less space in the rest of the house. My father started telling a story about my mother, a story that got repeated so often it eventually became truth. According to him, my mother had been reckless, irresponsible, the reason our family struggled. And according to him, I was the reminder of that. "You're just like her," he'd say whenever I pushed back. It's amazing what you'll believe about yourself when you hear it enough times. By the time I was 17, I had learned a few important rules. Don't ask for help, don't take up space, and never expect anyone to show up. So I stopped asking. I worked 2 jobs through nursing school. I lived in a studio apartment with a radiator that sounded like a dying robot every winter. My car was an old Toyota with one door that only opened from the inside, but it was mine. And honestly, I was proud of it. The Carter family house was 20 minutes away, but it might as well have been on another planet. The last time I visited was Thanksgiving 3 years ago. 20 people around that huge table, crystal glasses, expensive line, Daniel's new sports car sitting in the driveway like some kind of trophy. One of my dad's friends asked who I was while I was bringing plates from the kitchen. My father didn't even look up when he answered. "That's Lena," he said. "She helps out." Helps out. Like a housekeeper, not his daughter. That night, I washed dishes for an hour after everyone left. I remember looking at my reflection in the kitchen window and thinking, why do I keep coming back here? Turns out, life answered that question for me. 2 months ago, I was driving home from a night shift. 3 in the morning, empty roads, the kind of tired where your bones feel heavy. I didn't see the truck run the red light until it was too late. The next thing I remember was waking up in that hospital bed with that note and a bill. $42,000. You want to know what's funny? I almost signed the paperwork they sent me. The forms saying I'd take responsibility for everything. All the debt, all the medical bills, because that's what I'd been trained to do. Take responsibility, apologize, disappear quietly. But then something strange happened. 3 days after I woke up, a man knocked on my hospital room door. He was older, gray hair, expensive suit, the kind of calm presence that makes a room feel smaller. He introduced himself like we were meeting at a coffee shop instead of a hospital. "Mr. Carter," he said, "my name is Jonathan Reeves. I've been trying to reach you for 3 years." 3 years? Those words didn't make sense until he opened the folder he brought with him. Inside were documents, lots of them, legal paperwork, bank statements, property records, and at the bottom of the stack, a letter. My mother's handwriting. My heart stopped. Jonathan explained everything slowly. 2 years before she died, my mother created a trust. Irrevocable, protected, and she made me the sole beneficiary. Inside that trust were 2 things. First, an investment account worth just over $2 million. Second, the deed to the house in Greenwich, the same house my father had been living in for 16 years. Turns out, he never owned it. My mother bought that house before they married, and legally, it belonged to me. Jonathan slid 3 envelopes across the hospital table, certified mail receipts, each one addressed to me, each one signed by Diane Carter. She had intercepted them, all of them, for 3 years. I remember sitting there staring at those papers, thinking about something my grandmother whispered at my mom's funeral. Your mother made sure you'd be taken care of. At 12 years old, I thought she meant heaven. Turns out, she meant justice. The rest of the story happened 2 weeks later, at a charity gala my father was hosting. 200 guests, politicians, investors, people who believed Harold Carter was a self-made success story. He was on stage giving a speech about legacy, about how everything he owned came from his own hard work. I walked into that ballroom wearing the only blazer I owned, my arms still in a cast, Jonathan beside me. And when my father saw me, For the first time in my life, he looked nervous. The room went quiet when we reached the stage. Jonathan introduced himself, laid the documents on the table, and calmly explained that the property Harold Carter had used as collateral for his latest development deal didn't belong to him. It belonged to the trust, my trust. The bank representative left the room 10 minutes later. Deal canceled, loan revoked, and my father sat down, not yelling, not arguing, just silent. For the first time in his life, he had nothing to say. But before I walked away, I told him one more thing. I told him the truth about my mother, about the accident he blamed me for, about the night he never showed up. And I told him something else, too. I'm not the mistake you said I was. You just never expected me to survive. 3 months later, I sold that house. Not because I hated it, but because some buildings hold too many ghosts. I moved to a small apartment across town, 2 bedrooms, big windows, a little kitchen where I play piano sometimes on a keyboard I bought online. My brother Mark calls every Thursday now. We're still figuring things out, but at least it's honest. As for my father, I heard he moved into a condo outside the city. Smaller place, quieter, no iron gates. I still keep that note he left me, framed above my desk, not because I'm bitter, because it reminds me of something important. The day my family walked away from me was the day my life actually started. And if you're listening to this story right now, maybe you know exactly what that feels like.